Welcome back to Americanuck Radio, everybody. We are live. Mike Phillip in Western Canada, Professor Mike in Ottawa, and Super Dawn down in Louisiana. And we had a really great segment with Dr. Peter Glidden. And I'll tell you what, things just keep getting better. We have got Liana Werner Gray. Liana is a sought-after speaker and advocate for natural health, using a healthy diet and lifestyle, seems to be the theme this afternoon, after healing herself of many negative health conditions, including a precancerous tumor, through embracing a natural lifestyle and not eating toothpaste. Werner Gray began lecturing and teaching about the Earth Diet internationally, and Liana is the founder and owner of the Earth Diet, which she directs, a team that helps people all over the world find recipes that work for them. Liana, you're a cutie. How you doing?
Hey, Super Dawn. Good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Did you just call me Super Dawn?
By the way.
She did. Yes.
You did. You called me Super Dawn. I can't believe it. He's got a great voice, though. I guess I should take that as a compliment. You know what? From now on, you can refer to me
I get to share Liana Werner Gray this hour. So.
All right. So, Liana, you've got a book called The Earth Diet, and you put that out a few years ago, and you've been doing your own radio show. How's that going?
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I never planned to have a radio show, but Hay House, my publisher, they had a platform for it, so I've been trying it out, and it's great. So every Wednesday at 6 o'clock EST, I do, like, a live show, and I take callers live, and it's so much fun, and I just basically help, people answer their questions and find the recipes that really work for them that will change their life.
That's awesome. So, Liana, you encountered some health problems. So, tell us what happened. You were a little cutie running around Australia. You had a nice family living in the outback. A dingo never stole you from your parents when you were a baby. You were doing good. So, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, what happened, and what was the transformation into Miss Earth Australia that you are today?
Okay, yeah. So, I became addicted to junk foods. So I moved out of home when I was 18, and I went to Brisbane City. So I left Alice Springs, and I just became fascinated with all the junk foods, all the bright-colored wrapped foods, and I loved the sugar high that I would get from these foods. Like, immediately I would feel so good and so alive. And then I would just come crashing down, and so I didn't like that crashing down feeling, so I would just keep eating junk foods to try and keep me up at this high all the time. And so I did that every single day for 5 years. I would eat, like, a lot of junk food, and then I ended up just having the wake-up call of my life, where my health just backfired and basically said, nuh-uh, you're not going to eat and live this way anymore. And so I ended up in hospital. I had a tumor the size of a golf ball. I had chronic fatigue and Epstein-Barr virus, and my blood work was on the verge of leukemia. So I took that as, like, my rock bottom point, and I was like, okay, I have to change my life. And then I created the Earth Diet blog, and that's how basically I started to change and transform and save my life.
That's totally awesome. So, I mean, how long did it take you from the time that you started to turn your diet around? Was it a long process? Were you looking at years? How did that go?
So it's been 7 years now since I started, and within 3 months of juicing every single day and cutting out junk foods and just finding ways to have my favorite foods basically in a natural way, like a cleaner way. In 3 months, the tumor was dissolved. And then I just kept going, and within 12 months, my immune system was really strong, so I didn't have signs of Epstein-Barr virus anymore or chronic fatigue. So it definitely was a process, and it's been, 7 years since, and I just keep getting healthier and healthier. I keep shedding more of the excess weight that was accumulated from the processed foods, and my energy keeps getting better and better. So it's been a really good process, but it definitely does take time.
Yeah, absolutely. We found the same thing. Me and the professor here, we used to host a radio show called Fire Your MD Now on this same network, and I have seen countless people turn their life around, lose weight, look great just by changing their diet. And I mean, I'm sure that you cover this in your book, but I mean, one thing that I have noticed that really turns people around is cutting off gluten. And it's really weird when you tell people, stop eating gluten is ruining your gut. You look terrible. The guys especially, they treat it like only real men eat wheat. Like it's like some kind of a tough guy thing, like you're a T-Rex chasing down a wheat plant. You know what I'm saying? And like,
Yeah.
you know, have you noticed the same thing? Like just cutting off gluten in your diet can actually make big differences. Have you noticed the same thing?
Yes, I've noticed that when people cut out gluten, it literally can save their life if they're dealing with like really intense health issues, and it can completely transform their life. Like gluten is like so heavy on the body. It just takes so much energy. So when people cut it, they have so much more energy, and then any kind of health issue they have dissipates. So especially digestive issues like IBS or bloating or having excess weight. Gluten is one of, I would say, like top 5 usual suspects that make us really sick and really fat and just really bloated and tired. So it's definitely one to cut out.
What about sugar? What's your opinion on that? I mean, that's, I'd say that's up there with number 1, I'd say.
Yeah, sugar is another one of the 5 usual suspects. So white sugar is definitely a very dangerous thing to put into our body because it immediately affects the brain and affects the digestive system. It just puts our whole chemical balance completely off. So, yeah, I would recommend getting off sugar. And so I was addicted to sugar for 5 years. So that's a fair amount of time. I mean, there are other people out there listening who maybe have had it for a longer period of time. So I thought it was not possible to give up sugar. And I thought for the rest of my life, I would have to have sugar because that's just what normal people do. And, you know, how can you live a life without sugar? So when I started the Earth diet and I started to find natural ways to have sugars, I started to go for things like honey and maple syrup and dates and even coconut sugar. And so now that's the only sugar I'll consume. And that completely changed my life as well, just changing my sugar.
Well, you know, and people have weird reactions to food. Like, I'm convinced, okay, our healthcare system is absolutely bankrupting Canada. I mean, it's totally unsustainable. And not only that, but here's another thing that doesn't come up often enough. People act crazy. Like, you take somebody that goes off their nut if they drink too much whiskey. Well, you got to think about this. Why do people go crazy when they drink whiskey? Well, it's 2 things. Obviously, it's the grain alcohol and the sugar. And I mean, the alcohol converts to sugar. But I'm convinced, okay, that our prison system is full of people that have no idea why they act the way they do, but they've been having food reactions that their dingbat MD didn't tell them about their whole life, and they're on 15 different meds, overweight, they look like crap, they feel like crap. Either that or they got these violent tendencies, but really they're just having food reactions. So, I mean, the money that we could save on the healthcare system and the prison system alone would be staggering. Would you agree with that statement, Liana?
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of people are a lot sicker and a lot more heavier than they would like to be. And one of the main reasons is because they're eating things that they're not aware of, and pharmaceutical drugs. It all adds up in the body. It just adds so much toxins and chemicals to the body. So it makes us feel like crap. It makes us feel really, really heavy. So when people clean up their diet and they go through like a cleanse process, their life completely starts to change. And I thought it was really hard to do a detox or a cleanse, but the Earth diet, it's a lot easier than we think because we can still have all of our favorite foods. We just find like natural upgrades in every single drink that we have or meal that we have just to make it slightly cleaner. And that really, really does transform a life. And it helps with brain issues like brain fog and depression and bipolar, any kind of mental issues. So I wrote this post for Huffington Post, and it was about the 3 dietary changes that we could do for our mental health. So diet has a huge part in our mental health, and it would help a lot of people that are in hospital and in prison system to be a lot more sane, to be a lot more cleaner and better.
Everybody, we got Liana Werner Gray here on Americanuck Radio. After this break, we're going to talk about more ways to change your diet, look great. You too could look good like Liana Werner Gray. We'll be back after this. Hey, everybody, we're back live. This is your host, Mike Phillip, on Americanuck Radio, the best damn show in North America. That's not my opinion. That's somebody told me that. Big shout out to Chadwell Frederick Bennett on globalnews.ca, new listener. Right on, pal. And we've got Liana Werner Gray on the show today, and she was mentioning during the break, because, we talked during the break. We're actual human beings. She had somebody on Instagram asking her about high blood pressure. Could you get into that a little bit, Liana, what you've seen work with high blood pressure? And I've got a few things I'd like to add myself, but go ahead. You got the floor.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so Angela Bailey was asking about high blood pressure, and so...
Hi, Angela.
When people live a natural lifestyle and they just eat a lot of wholesome foods, like whole foods that come straight from the earth, their blood pressure balances out. So my belief is that the body always wants to be in its natural state of health and wellness. It's just sometimes we get in the way and we consume things that kind of tip it over a balance, and we put our blood pressure like so high. So eating a lot of whole foods will help, things like quinoa and turmeric, white beans, fish, tiger nuts, and peaches, bananas, kale, red bell pepper, sweet potato, avocado. So those really whole foods, especially with seeds in them, they will help to ground the body and to lower the blood pressure and keep it balanced for life, basically. So people with high blood pressure just want to stay away from processed foods, obviously, and then refined white sugar and gluten. So those will create high blood pressure through the roof.
You know, my wife, she is a little blonde country girl, just like you, and she had stage 1 hypertension, and at the time, I was friends with Dr. Peter Glidden, and same thing. He mentioned some dietary changes that included the same things that you're talking about, and we also supplemented with calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, vitamin D, things like that, and we reversed my wife's blood pressure, stage 1 hypertension. She was getting dizzy spells in 3 to 4 days. Like, it normalized itself out without drugs, okay? And that's the beautiful thing that Liana Werner Gray is talking about. You don't have to take a stupid statin drug or a blood thinner in order to get your health back. So, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Mike has something to say about this as well. Right, Mike? Professor Mike?
Hey, Mike.
He has nothing to say. Okay, he's probably off making a protein shake. So, yeah, absolutely. I've seen this in my own life as well. What about skin conditions? I get people asking me about
sorry,
skin
my
conditions.
computer froze up for a second there. I don't know what happened. I couldn't get off of mute.
Yeah, and then you totally interrupted everybody, but You're doing great. You had something to say about high blood pressure. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, so on top of dietary changes, I'd also recommend moderate to light, maybe breathing exercises. A lot of people find that if they have a few minutes of deep breathing every day, that can also help calm the nerves, because we have something called the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And once we start to relax the body using deep breathing, maybe listen to some calming music, that can also help reduce the blood pressure. So
yeah, get a babysitter. I've heard that works
amazing.
good too.
Oh yes. That's another thing.
The Lord.
Go to a Megadeth concert.
Yes.
So we were mentioning skin conditions. What did you notice with your skin when you changed your diet, Liana?
Oh, everything. Yeah. So my skin is a lot better now than 7 years ago, and so obviously eating junk foods, it has an effect on our skin. And so I did notice a detox period where my skin got really bad and it broke out, and I had a lot of acne on my face and stuff like that. It was really uncomfortable. It really sucked. But I just kept going, with the earth diet, with cleansing, detoxing, and then eventually all of that surface stuff just basically kind of melted away. And then now I have really great, vibrant skin, and I've been able to get rid of some of the acne scars and stuff from using oregano oil, which is really intense on the face, but it seems to burn it off. And then also doing bentonite clay face masks as well. And then also drinking bentonite clay. That's helpful for people that have psoriasis or eczema or any kind of skin issues. And I meet people with psoriasis and skin issues all the time. They think that they have to have that skin issue for the rest of their life.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I say absolutely not, right? Like totally not. You can get rid of that, and it could take a year or 2 years, but you can completely get rid of any skin issues.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they're told that they're going to have that skin condition forever because the MD wants to treat them like an ATM until the day they die, till they basically sold the farm or turned to cooking meth in order to pay their medical bills. And, I mean, it's crazy because I knew a guy that had, he had a few spots on his skin, went to the doctor, and the doctor looked at him, didn't do any blood tests, nothing, and he goes, you got lupus. And the guy looked at him and he's like, he says, I never went back. And the skin issues went away. Whereas if he would have oh my God, I've got lupus, he would have been going back for prescription after prescription and probably got worse when in fact all he had was a compromised small intestine, which was destroying his immune system. So Liana Werner Gray knows what she's talking about, and she's got beautiful skin, and you can see a lot of it if you just go Google her. There's lots of pictures of her in a swimsuit. She's got great skin. Ileana looks good. And also, not only skin, but hair. Your hair will look better too. Can you get into that?
Yeah, definitely. So the outside of us reflects the inside. So obviously if we clean ourselves from the inside out and we just nourish our body, the outside's going to reflect that. And science does prove that every few years we get a brand new body. So we get new organs, and so our hair is alive, so it's living. And so if we're healthy from the inside, we have healthy thoughts, emotions, and food, then our hair is going to reflect that also. So people can experience to get thicker hair and just to have hair grow at a really nice pace.
Yeah, and the pharmaceutical industry loves to mess with women's heads and convince them that they'll show them these commercials with Pantene Pro V, and they'll show them this sciencey looking cartoon where these different chemicals are going into the hair, and that's going to actually make things better. But in fact, a lot of the beauty products that people use are full of chemicals. So I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, there's mineral makeups you can get and things like that. If you're a woman, right? Or I guess anybody. These are different times, but
and for men too, because a lot of men are losing their hair, and men don't want to lose their hair. So there are so many chemicals in our skincare products, our hair care products, and beauty products. And so all of those toxins, they do affect the hair. Like they can weigh down the hair. And so when people just switch to natural, they notice a huge difference. It's just like a lot lighter chemical load on the hair. And so all of the products that I use with my skincare and makeups and everything are organic, including organic mascara and shampoos and conditioners. And also there's gluten in some shampoos and conditioners. So that's kind of crazy because then people are consuming gluten straight in their hair follicles, going straight into their head. So definitely check ingredients labels and buy organic as much as possible.
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about GMOs and the studies they've done on that as opposed to buying organic?
Yeah, so genetically modified organisms, they're created in a lab, and I know some people are all for GMOs and some people are not, and so I just say to people, try it for 7 days, eat GMOs all week and see how you feel. And, it's obvious that the body has a very hard time breaking down all those chemicals. It's just a lot of chemicals. The body thrives in nature and thrives whole foods in nature. And so we definitely want to stay away from GMOs as much as possible. And these days we can eat all of our favorite foods and enjoy all of our favorite products, our skincare and beauty products, in a more natural, organic way. And it's just a simple upgrade, just cutting out some of those really toxic ingredients.
Absolutely. I saw a Jimmy Kimmel Live segment where he was in a park in L.A. asking people, and he was making fun of them, asking them, are you gluten-free? And every one of them said yes. And then he asked them, do you know what gluten is, right? And he was making fun of the fact that it was, being treated like a fad diet, and these people didn't even know what gluten was. But what stood out to me, he was making fun of these people, but every single one of them was an ideal body weight and had perfect skin, and they were all out jogging, right? So, I mean, if you're gonna, let's make it simple. Gluten is a protein, which is a daisy chain amino acids that carries an electrical charge that destroys the villi in the small intestine, and you cannot absorb nutrients. and I'm taking up all your time. Her book is Earth Diet. You can get it as Amazon.com. And what's your website, Liana, real quick?
It's theearthdiet.com.
TheEarthDiet.com. Americanuck Radio with Mike, and Super Don. This has been another edition. We'll see you all next week. Check out Liana Gray's website and drglidden.com. We'll see you all next Saturday.
Americanuck Radio.